What poppin' with y'all? So it is currently January 30th at 10:46 as y'all can see. Well, 10:47 as y'all can see. Um, we ended off chapter 4 yesterday. So we start chapter 5 today, which is how to think and dream creatively. So I'm not really gonna do too much talking. You already know how the routine go. Got the 15 minutes on the clock. 15 minutes on the clock. So let's go ahead and press the timer. Let's lock in. All right, so chapter 5, how to think and dream creatively. First, let's clear up a common fallacy. Fallacy? Is that how you say it? Fallacy, let's type in.
Fallacy.
Fallacy. And fallacy means like a common mistake or it's a false belief. Okay. So a common fallacy about the meaning of creative thinking. From For some illogical reason, science, engineering, art, and writing got tabbed as the only truly creative pursuits. Most people associate creative thinking with things like the discovery of electricity or polio vaccine or the writing of a novel or the development of color television. Certainly accomplishments like these are evidence of creative thinking. Each forward step made in the conquest of space is the result of creative thinking, lots of it. But creative thinking is not reserved for certain occupations, nor is it restricted to super intelligent people. Well, then, what is creative thinking? A low income family devises a plan to send their son to a leading university. That's creative thinking. A family turns the street's most undesirable lot into the neighborhood beauty spot. That's creative thinking. A minister that develops a plan that doubles his Sunday evening attendance. That's creative thinking. Figuring out ways to simplify record keeping, selling the impossible customer, keeping the children occupied constructively, making employees really like their work, or even preventing certain quarrels. All of all of these are examples of practical, everyday creative thinking. Creative thinking is simply finding new and improved ways to do anything. The rewards of all types of success in the home, at the work, in the community, hinge on finding ways to do better. Now, let's look at what we can do to develop and strengthen our creative thinking ability. Step one, believe it can be done. So, step one, y'all, believe it can be done. Here's a basic truth: to do anything, we must first believe it can be done. Facts. Believing something can be done sets the mind in motion to find a way to do it. To illustrate this point of creative thinking in training sessions, I often use this example. I ask the group, how many of you feel it's impossible to eliminate jails within the next 30 years? Invariably, the group looks bewildered, not quite sure if they heard it right or thinking that they're listening to a real fuzzy wuzzy. So after a pause, I repeat, how many of you feel it is possible to eliminate jails within the next 30 years? Once they're sure I'm not joking, someone always blasts me with something like, you mean to say you want to turn all in the murderers, thieves, and rapists loose? Don't you realize what this would do? Or don't you realize what this would mean? None of us would be safe. We have to have the jails. Then the others cut loose. All order would break down if we didn't have jails. Some people are born criminals. If anything, we need more jails. Did you read in the morning's paper about the murderer? If the group goes on, tells me all sorts of good reasons why we must have jails. One fellow even suggested we've got the jails to have we've got to have jails so the police and prison guards can have jobs. After 10 minutes of letting the group prove why we can't eliminate the need for jails, I say to them, now let me mention that there's this question of eliminating jails is to make a point. Each of you have come up with reasons why we can't eliminate the need for jails. Will you do me a favor? Will you try extra hard for a few minutes to believe we can eliminate jails? Joining in spirit of the experiment, the group says in effect, oh well, but just for the kicks, then I say, now assuming we can eliminate the jails, how can we begin? to just come slowly at first. Someone hesitates saying something like, well, you might cut down crime establishments for youth centers. Before long, the group, which 10 minutes ago was was solidly against the idea, now begins to work up real enthusiasm. Work to eliminate poverty. Most crime stems from the low income levels. Conduct re- Conduct research to spot potential criminals before they commit a crime. Develop surgical procedures to cure some kind of criminals. Educate law enforcement personnel in positive methods of reform. These are the just samples of the 78 specific ideas I've tabulated. I think it's tabulated. Let's look it up right quick. Tabulated. Tabulate to arrange. Okay, and how do you say it? Tabulate, okay. So tabulated that can help accomplish the goal of eliminating jails. When you believe, your mind finds ways to do it. Facts. So when you believe, your mind finds ways to do it. This experiment had just one point. When you believe something is possible, your mind goes to work for you to prove why. But when you really believe something can be done, your mind goes to work for you and helps you find the ways to do it. Facts. Believing something can be done paves the way for creative solutions. Believing something can't be done is destructive thinking. This point applies to all situations, little and big. The political leaders who do not genuinely believe permanent world peace can be established will fail because their minds are closed to creative ways to bring about peace. The economists who believe businesses' depressions are inevitable will not develop creative ways to beat the business cycle. In a similar fashion, you can find ways to like a person if you believe you can. You can discover solutions to personal problems if you believe you can. You can even find ways to purchase that new, larger home if you believe you can. Belief releases creative powers. Disbelief puts the brakes on. Believe and you will start thinking constructively. Your mind will create a way if you let it. A little over 2 years ago, a young man asked me to help him find a job with more future. He was employed as a clerk in the credit department of a mail order company and felt that he was getting nowhere. He talked about his past record and what he wanted to do. After knowing something about him, I said, I admire you very much and wanted to move up the ladder to do a better job and more responsibility. But getting a start in the kind of job you want requires a lot of college degrees these days. I noticed you finished 3 semesters. May I suggest you finish college? Going summers, you can do it in 2 years. Then I'm sure you can land the job you want with the company you want to work for. I realized, he answered, that a college education would help, but it's impossible for me to get back to school. Impossible? Why? I'd asked. Well, for one thing, he began, I'm 24. On top of that, my wife and I are expecting our second child in a couple of months. We barely get by now on what I make. We barely get by now on what I make. I wouldn't have time to study since I've got to keep a job. It's just impossible, that's all. This young man really had himself convinced that finishing college was impossible. Like, nah, like anybody can go to college, any age. Then I said to him, if you believe it is impossible to finish school, then it is. But by the same token, if you will just believe it is possible to return to the university, a solution will come. Now here's what I would like for you to do. Make up your own mind. Make up your mind you're going back to school. Let that one thought dominate your thinking. Then really think about how you can do it and so still support your family. Come back in a couple of weeks and let me know what ideas you come up with. A young friend returned 2 weeks later. I thought a lot about what you said, and he said, I decided I must go back to school. I haven't figured out all the angles yet, but I'll find a solution. And he did. He managed to get a scholarship provided by a trade association, which paid his tuition, books, and incidentals. Is it incidentals? I think it's incidentals. Incidentals. I believe that's what it says. Just making sure. Incidentals. Incidentals. Pronunciation.
Incidentals.
Yeah, incidentals. Okay. He rearranged his work schedule so he could attend classes. His enthusiasm and the promise of a better life won him and his wife full support. Together, they creatively found ways to budget money and time more effectively. Last month, he received his degree one day and went to work the next as the management trainee for the large corporation. Where there is a wall, where there's a will, there's a way. Facts. Where there's a will, there's a way, y'all. Believe it can be done. That's basic to critical thinking. Here are suggestions to help you develop creative power through belief. Number 1, eliminate the word impossible from your thinking and speaking vocabularies. Impossible is a failure word. The thought it's impossible sets off a chain reaction of other thoughts that prove you right. Facts. If you feel like it can't be done, it can't be done. And if you feel like it can be done, it will be done, you know? Number 2, think of something special you've been wanting to do, but you feel like you couldn't. Now make a list of reasons why you can do it. Many of us whip and defeat our desires simply because we can't concentrate on why we can't, when the only thing worthy of our mental concentration is why we can. Facts. It's like you focus too many times on why you can't do something, but you never focus on many times as what you can do, you know? Recently, I read a newspaper item said that there are too many counties in most states. The article pointed out that most county boundaries were established decades before the actual automobile was built, and while the horse and buggy was the chief mode of travel. But today, with fast automobiles and good roads, there is no reason why 3 or 4 counties could not be combined. This will cut down greatly on duplicated services so that taxpayers will actually get better service for less money. The writer on this article said he thought he had stumbled across a really live idea, so he interviewed 30 people at random to get their reaction. The result, not one person thought the idea was merit, even though it would provide them the better local government at low cost. That's an example of traditional thinking. The traditional thinker is paralyzed. He reasons it's been this way for 100 years, therefore it must stay like this. Why risk change? Average people have always resented progress. Many voiced a protest toward the automobile on the grounds that nature meant for us to walk or horses. The airplane seemed drastic to many. Many had no right to enter the province reserved for birds. A lot of status quoers still insisted that man had no business in space. One top missile expert recently gave an answer to this kind of thinking. Man belongs, says Dr. Von Braun. Dr. Von Braun, where man wants to go. Around 1900, a sales executive discovered a scientific principle of sales management. It received a lot of publicity and even found its way into textbooks. The principle was this: there is one best way to sell a product. Find the best way, then never defeat. How do you say that? Defeat. I think it's called the. Hold on. Deviate. Hold up. Deviate. Okay, deviate from it. Fortunately, from the man's company, new leadership came in time to save the organization from financial ruin. Contrast that experience in the philosophy of Crawford H. Greenwald, president of one of the most largest business organizations, E.I. DuPont de Nemours, I think that's French. In a talk at Columbia University, Mr. Greenwald said, "There are many ways in which a good job can be done. So many ways, in fact, as there are men to whom the task is given. The truth, there is no one best way to do anything. There is no one best there's no one best way to decorate an apartment, landscape a lawn, make a sale, rear a child, or cook a steak. There are many best ways as there are creative minds. Nothing grows in ice. Nothing grows in ice. Facts. Hold on, I'm gonna finish this part right here. Timer is off, but I'm gonna finish this part. It says nothing grows in ice. If we let tradition freeze our minds, new ideas can't sprout. Make this test sometime soon. Propose one of the ideas below to someone and then watch his behavior. All right, so I'm gonna read the four. I know we stopped, but I do want to read these four, and then we can put the bookmark there. So the number one, it says the postal system, long a government monopoly, should be turned over to private enterprise. Number two, presidential elections should be held every 2 or 6 years instead of 4. Number three, regular hours for retail stores should be 1 to 8 a.m. instead of 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And number four, the retirement age should be raised to 70. All right, that's on page 107, chapter 5, How to Think Big and Creatively. Get up with y'all tomorrow. Y'all stay blessed. Y'all stay encouraged. Get up with y'all.